Good evening.
Okay, Mayor, you could start.
Let's just give it a minute. Are we still missing Mike and Maura?
I think
We
Morris,
do have a quorum now.
Morris said, sorry, I have to look at it. That her doctor was running late, so she might be 5-10 minutes late.
Welcome everyone to the regular Board of Trustee meeting for Tuesday, December 15th, 2020. Is there a motion to open the meeting? Trustee Taylor, second. Trustee Sullivan, all in favor? That meeting is open, 5 votes to 0. Let's rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States
of the United States of America,
which stands
For which it stands.
under God,
Under
Justice.
God.
indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. As always, I advise everyone regarding the way to access the meeting via Zoom or via the phone. Those instructions are always on our website and they are attached to the agenda. And during this continued crisis, we will continue to operate remotely. People will be able to participate via Zoom, by internet, or by telephone. The videos can also be viewed after each meeting on YouTube and will be posted on the village website. If you have a comment or a question or a concern which you would like to make, please email the village clerk by 3 o'clock on the Monday before the meeting. Be sure to include the meeting date and agenda item you would like to address. Send those comments to the village clerk at ldraper@dobbsferry.com. For public hearings, we will accept emailed comments in advance of the hearings. Please email the village clerk at ldraper@dobbsferry.com by 3 o'clock on the Monday before the meeting. I'm going to read the instructions for a public hearing. It also will give people the ability to interact with courtesy of the floor. If you are participating via Zoom, either by phone or video, you can raise your hand and we will call on residents in the order in which they do so. In order to raise your hand, you should click on the icon labeled participants and a column appears on the right-hand side. At the bottom of that window is the raise your hand button. For people calling in by phone, you can push *9 in order to raise your hand. We will let you know it is your turn by calling either your name or your phone number. And when you do are on, please be sure to acknowledge state your name and your address, and we can move forward. So we're going to have a public hearing, which is a continuation of a public hearing to consider a local law by clarifying parking restrictions and amending the date parameters for the annual village parking permits. Is there a motion to open the public hearing? Trustee Taylor, second. Trustee Patino, all in favor? The public hearing is now open. So at the last meeting, there was a lot of discussion regarding the parking permits and when we should set the dates, whether it's going to be January 1st or the fiscal year. And I think people wanted to discuss it. I also would like to acknowledge an email, a letter that we received from Jola Kerschelhangel Hagel, which also comments about the parking permits. So how do people feel about it? I think we seem to be leaning towards the fiscal year, but I just want to confirm that with everybody. So just let me know how you feel about it.
I agree. I thought that at the last hearing, there were some valid points as to why the fiscal year would make more sense for the residents. And so I'm in favor of moving all permit start dates to the fiscal year.
If you move all the start dates to the fiscal year, that means there's some that are already January, correct?
It's hard to hear you, Christy.
Better now?
Yes.
Yes. If we move everything to the fiscal year, then some things are changing from January till now June 1st, right? It's not just the February one.
Laura Lee?
Yes. In some cases, the annual year has been the calendar year, and that was for the residential downtown. That was pointed out in the hearing last month, and in other cases, we're moving it from the February. So there will be a gap that you can address however you wish to address it, but there will be a gap, and you can put rules and procedures into place. I did provide you all with a revised version of the local law 8, which now clearly indicates that you're going to make a consistent fiscal year as the basis for all your annual permits. Now, some of your permits are seasonal, and those are processed differently by the police chief, but with the chief's approval, for consistency purposes, making it a fiscal year is now in your the local law has been redrafted.
And I think we had an issue of what to do with that gap, right? So I think Larry, you had the suggestion, or someone had a suggestion of waiving that period. Is that what the board's leaning towards doing?
I think waive it for the people who already have permits. For people who don't have permits, I don't know if there's something that we can sell, if we can do a monthly thing, or, I mean, there are daily permits that people can buy. I mean, I don't know how many more people are going to be looking for commuter permits right now because of what's going on. So few people are commuting. So I would say honor the permits that are already existing, let them just continue. And people who don't have permits, we should probably work out something for them to be able to buy permits until the yearly permit is available.
The Chief, do you know if we have stickers left over from last year?
Some of the stickers we have, they would set to expire on February 14th, so they're showing a different date.
Right, but we could sell prorated to somebody, just sell them last year's sticker, and that sticker we'll just make clear is valid until June if that's what we chose to do. But we already have the means to do it. We would just sell them one of the old stickers.
We could do that, yes.
Yeah, that way you don't have to print anything else out. Good idea.
Now, if we're waiving things, but there's people who would be up for a new permit in January because there is like the downtown people they're on January schedule right now, right? And we'd be moving them to June.
What's the fee for a downtown permit? Do you know, Christy, or does someone know off the top of their head?
It's like $100-something. It's 100. I think it's 132 for non-residents and about 115 for residents, something like that. And that's for a year.
Do we have any idea how many of those stickers are out there, roughly?
The permits that would have gone on sale now would be the residential. That is that's $25 for the year. And those are for your side streets and Palisade. So your Oak, Elm. We have not started those sales yet. The Central Business District, that would have gone February, that would have started opening up next month. So, if we're looking to, if we go to the fiscal year, we can begin trying to sell permits. My hope was to try to get sales through an online portal through the village website. That was our plan. And, it's just a matter of whether you want to prorate from, say, for those patrons who had purchased a permit this year that was set to expire in February, that we would still honor them to the expiration, and then we could start sales and do a prorated basis from, say, March 1st to May 31st, and then kick in the actual fee come June 1st for June 1st of 2021 to May 31st of 2022. So we've already received our order for this year's permits was already made and is in. So we have permits that have come in.
Meaning the stickers?
Correct, to replace what was set to expire.
And they say,
So they say 2021, and since we're the ones enforcing, I can, depending on what the village wants to do, if we want to do a prorated, we'd sell what we have left, even though those actually have a date that says it expires on February 13th of 2021, and we would just honor them to May 31st, and then just use the new stickers for the fiscal year.
I think what I would see if we could do is let all of the ones that are currently on cars expire, and then launch in May the online permit program where they can purchase it for June 1, where it's active June 1, and start requiring permits again. Or I guess they could have their old permits, but allow the old permits to last until June 1 for all of the lots, if the majority of the money is coming from the commuter lot previously, right?
That's all fine, but what about people who don't have permits yet? They want to buy them for the first time. What do we do then?
Right.
Sell them the old ones, I guess.
We could sell them the old ones and just prorate it.
Yeah.
But if we're giving it for free to people who already have the permit, and then we're charging new people who didn't have the permit, the prorated amount.
No, they already paid for
through
them.
is that?
Didn't they already pay for the old ones? They already paid for the old ones, right?
They paid
Yes,
for
they
them.
paid
That's
for the
right.
old ones, true.
Yeah. Jeff, how
And
badly
cer-
does
And
this hurt us?
certainly anybody who bought a commuter pass last February 13th has probably not gotten their money's worth out of it
Yeah.
over the last 12 months. It doesn't seem like an empty gesture. People park for 2 weeks and then quit commuting.
I agree.
So new permits would be prorated using old stickers until the end of May. And beginning June 1, all new permits are required. I would ask the chief if it makes sense to order different permits that say the proper dates on them for across the board. Or I don't know how much it costs to print the permits. Or is it fine? Because I mean, if they say 2021 and then December rolls around and then it's 2022 and people have stickers that say 2021.
Now they say February 14th, 2020 to February 13th, 2021.
No, but the ones that are annual, that are
their annual ones say that they have a start and end date.
the ones that start January 1st for residential and downtown. Those are the ones he said he already got in for January, right?
Correct. So they just show the annual year. So I mean,
He hasn't ordered the ones for the commuter lot yet.
we've ordered everything. So we have.
Oh, okay.
We know what we're enforcing. So I'm not really worried if it says 2021. We'll know if we are moving to the fiscal year. We're going to honor that. That's not that big of a deal. I'm not really concerned about what it says because they are different from what is set to expire. So that's not the issue.
And it just has the year. It doesn't have the day and date.
Correct.
So
that's
you
fine.
bought it in 21, it's your 21 sticker. It's good till June of 22.
Correct. So that's not really, I'm not worried about that. And then going forward, we could always, if we needed to, add the date. That can be that's just more language on the sticker. You know, we can actually, we're able to make the font a little bit larger by eliminating some of the language on the existing sticker. So I'm not really worried about what the sticker says, because we know what will be valid and what won't be.
Jeff, do you know how much of a financial hit we're going to take on this?
Yeah, it's not insignificant. It's a couple $100,000. It's a pretty big number.
Even
But-
though it's only for a couple of months?
Is that the bulk of that is commuter lot though, Jeff?
Bulk of that is commuter lot, but remember the sales happened in last fiscal year for the most part for that commuter lot that expires in February. And then we would start collecting Rick would start collecting in like late January. And that would be this year's budgeted revenue, basically. So it's going to be a couple $100,000.
But we also don't know how many people won't be buying commuter tickets the
Right.
beginning of this year.
I think we have a better chance of more people buying them in June with the vaccine
Yeah.
out. more
Correct.
people returning to work
I agree.
Now, so.
And if it's aligned with like a web version launch of it and not having to go
Yeah.
in person, then it'll be easier for people to do it.
Also, wouldn't you be collecting the revenues in this fiscal year, because they'd be sold primarily in May?
No, I should record it in next fiscal year since that's what.
To match. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it's for next year. Yeah, I get it. So it's really just a deferral of whatever revenues we sell. My personal opinion is we're not going to sell more than a handful of commuter tickets between now and May, unfortunately. I wish I could say that something else.
Yeah, I mean, on the books, it's gonna look like it's a big hit, but I think you're right. In the next fiscal year, it'll pick up again when people hopefully will start to return to work in spring. So I just want to be clear, Laura Lee, that I have this right, because in front of me, I have an introductory local law number 8-2020, and then I have a resolution. So the local law that I have has the fiscal year running from July 1st to June 30th, and I'm not sure that's correct.
No, there was a revised version that went out, and at the top it says for consideration of Board of Trustees meeting. You have an earlier version. The final went out. Do you want me to send it to you now?
That would be great.
I will. Let's see.
Or you could just tell me when you sent it, you think, and I could.
Oh, you mean when in the email?
Yeah.
Okay, that I can do as well. I sent it out. Of course, I'm struggling here.
Well, I could just I have the resolution itself, so that's good.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
So
There-
if that's the will of them, we could just, if there's no further comments by the board, I'd like to open it up to any attendees. Is there anybody else who'd like to speak on this? Okay, Jen, is there anybody who,
I don't see anyone with their hands raised.
okay. All right, so I'd like to take a motion to close the public hearing. Trustee Taylor, second trustee Sullivan, all in favor. The public hearing is now closed. It now seems as though the board is willing to do the fiscal year for all. So based upon that, is there a motion to adopt resolution adopting local law 8-2020 to amend the Village of Dobbs Ferry Code to clarify parking restrictions and to establish consistency for the issuing of annual parking permits to coincide with the village fiscal year? Be it resolved that the Board of Trustees of the Village of Dobbs Ferry hereby adopts local law 8-2020, revising chapter 290, vehicles and traffic of the Village of Dobbs Ferry Code to clarify certain parking restrictions and to provide for consistency in the issuance of annual parking permits to coincide with the village fiscal year, with such adoption to take effect as required by law. Is there a motion? Trustee Sullivan, second. Trustee Nell, all in favor? Okay. Maura, I can't see you, so I don't know if you're voting. Okay, so that passes unanimously. Okay, let's move on to projects requiring board review. Is to consider a referral to the planning board of an addition and alteration to a mixed-use building at 185-191 Ashford Avenue. And Ed, I think you said that we would have someone here to speak on this.
Should be Christina Griffin.
Is she here?
Yes, I'm just promoting her to a panelist now. Oh, hold on. I think Suzanne Levine is also from Christina Griffin's.
Yes.
Yeah. Christina, Suzanne, can you hear us?
Yes. Can you hear me?
We
Yes.
can. So
Great.
welcome.
Good evening.
Good evening. And
I am,
we've gotten some of the plans. I mean, if you could just expand upon it, that would be great. I see you're going to
yes,
share.
of course.
Great. Okay.
Okay. In case just for everyone's information, in case you don't know, I'm Christina Griffin, and I'm the architect for a proposed mixed-use building at 191 to 185 Ashford Avenue. I'm joined here by Suzanne Levine, the project designer, and Andrew Cortese, the owner of the property, should be also here with us in case you have any questions for them. This is a rendering. Can everyone see the drawings?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. This is a rendering of an image of the proposed extension and renovation of the buildings that are there now. We're planning to take one of the buildings down, and the other one will be partially used and be part of the larger building. There's a beautiful kind of oversized cornice on the old building. We're planning to replicate it and put it on the top of the proposed building. It's going to have retail on the lower level and residential units above, a total of 9 units. I'm going to move now to the site plan, or here, the area plan. This building right now, there are 2 buildings right now on this property. As you see on this neighborhood plan, this is a tax map actually. There's a larger building, which is a commercial on the ground floor and 2 apartments on top. And then a smaller building to the right, which is the one we're going to remove. And it has a whole mix of different buildings that are 2, 2.5, and 3 stories on the street. This is a photograph of the building on the left, and we're planning to reuse this building and just completely renovate it. The cornice at the top has been our inspiration for the new cornice, which will be a replication of this. And the small nail salon that's to the right, that building will be removed. So there's a couple more pictures of the building down below. You see the two-story building with next to it is probably a I'm not sure, two-family house. So the street has a mix of some commercial, some residential, and it's in the downtown transitional zone. These are just some more pictures of the street. And you see there's lots of different, probably some residential, some commercial units on the other side of the street. Next slide. Our plan is to make sure the design will meet the zoning regulations in every way possible, except we'll require one variance because the existing building that we're keeping is non-conforming on the side yard, and we're planning to extend that side yard when we add a third floor to that building. But if just quickly run down existing proposed, existing is 3 retail, 2 residential, proposed is 2 retail, 9 residential. The plan is to have 1,200 to 1,300 square feet per unit. They are 2-bedroom, 2-bath units. One of the units will be an affordable housing unit. We're planning to meet the lot coverage. Maximum is 60%. Our plan is 45%. Impervious coverage, maximum is 80. Our plan will be 80. Right now it's 92. And we're going to reduce it slightly. But we're also using impervious paving to do that. We meet the height restriction of 3 stories, 35 feet. And when it comes to the setbacks, we meet all the setbacks except where we have the non-conforming part of the building that we're extending. And the areas of the building, the total floor area is 18,000 square feet. And we've done a calculation here just to show that our 2-bedroom affordable housing unit will be meeting the regulations for being at least 80% of the size of the average market rate unit in the building. So next slide, please, Suzanne, thanks. These are just our unit calculations, just so you have an idea of what our plans are for how many units and what kind of mix. They're all 2-bedroom units. The affordable housing unit is on the 1st floor. And then we have 8 more units above on the 2nd and 3rd floor. This is our neighborhood plan. This is just showing our proposed building down below the photograph of the existing building. So we're going from a 2-story mixed use, 2 units over commercial, and then a 1-story commercial to a 3-story building with commercial on the front of the lower level, residential above. And as you can see, there are a lot of these 2 and 3 family type houses in the area. And down below on the right, just to show the location of this lot. It's almost like this area has these little pockets of commercial buildings with park. And this one actually has a nice amount of parking that surrounds it. Next slide, Suzanne. This is our site plan. This parking area actually exists, and we're fortunate that we can meet all the requirements for the parking for this building. Part of the parking is tucked under our building. On the left side, you're going to see the existing 2-story building, and that has a wall that's right on the property line. We're expanding to extend that so that we add a 3rd floor on top. And to the right of that, we're going to extend the building as well. But that light blue area is the old 1-story building that we're removing. And we have a center, and we have just located on this site plan different entrances into the building for the residential units, and there's multiple entrances along the street for commercial. Next slide, Suzanne. And these are our floor plans. On the lower level, we have retail that's in the existing 2-story building with affordable housing, the affordable 2-bedroom unit in the back We have a central lobby through the building that feeds into another lobby to the elevator to the units above. And then we have a retail space on the right in the new building. Next slide. And just quickly, each floor has 4 units. This is the second floor. And wherever we could, we introduced outdoor spaces like roof decks and balconies, which come around the back and the side of the building. Next slide, Suzanne. Third floor is almost very similar to the second floor. There are 4 units between 12 to 1,300 square feet with some roof decks. Next slide. And on the very top, we're going to have a common roof deck. And then we're going to have 4 private roof decks accessible from the elevator and the egress stair. Next slide, Suzanne. These are our preliminary elevations to show how we're planning to treat the building. We are having a storefront facade with multiple entries. A lot of these ideas are in the vision plan, and we are going to be following those guidelines to be in keeping with that. So we have a lot of display space on this level. We have a center entry to the building, which is that central front entrance leads up into the residential units. And most of the buildings are treated like a traditional building in the downtown with the residential on top, commercial on the bottom. We have a lower cornice line and an upper cornice line, very much in keeping with the way traditional downtown buildings are designed. On the next slide, Suzanne just shows the other sides of the building. This side is just showing the very corner to the right is actually where we're keeping part of the old building. And that blank wall down below on the ground floor is actually existing. And we're planning to set back the building above so that we can introduce these balconies for the units and then have a rooftop deck on top at the very top. Next slide on the east elevations is just showing the other corner of the building. We have most of the brick facade and the cornices that turn the corner around the front from the front facade. And at some point, the building transitions into a simpler stucco building with mullioned windows. Down below, you see the parking area that's tucked under the building. And on the back, we have our elevation showing our parking below, residential above, and roof deck at the very top. The height of the building meets the maximum height, 35 feet and 3 stories for the zoning district. I think, are we at the end of our presentation?
I think that's it.
Okay. Yeah, so I'm just going back to the original image, and I'll just leave it here and see if you have any questions for us.
Thank you, Christina. Does anybody have any questions?
Donna, you're on mute.
That was going to be.
There we go. Okay. I have questions about the affordable housing unit.
Yes.
I just looked at the plan, so I may be reading it wrong, but it looks like all the apartments have a balcony or a roof deck except for the affordable housing unit. Is there any outdoor space for the affordable housing unit?
Actually, Suzanne is also
I'm
on.
not sure that every unit, I don't think unit 5 has outdoor space,
Yeah.
or unit 4. On the second floor, units 2 and units 3 share a bit of roof deck space. And then really it's the units up on the 3rd floor. They have roof decks off the back, and also they would be the ones that would have the private roof decks.
All right. So how many units do not have outdoor space?
Actually, this unit has a small balcony here.
The only reason I say that is
Yeah.
because there isn't supposed to be any stigma to having an affordable housing unit. It's supposed to be fairly comparable. So if everybody has access to outdoor space, there should be something for the affordable housing unit, whether it's a little patio or something like
Yes,
that.
I agree. Actually,
Yeah.
actually, the reason for the common roof deck is because it seemed like the only way we could get outdoor space for the units that don't have their own outdoor deck.
Mhm. And where's the entrance for the affordable housing unit?
Yeah, because the comment with the presentation said that it's in the back.
We can't have that.
Yeah, it says that the unit was in the back. So Christina,
I don't believe it can have a separate entrance.
It doesn't have it. Actually, it's on the first floor level, but it's off the main lobby. So the entrance is off the main lobby to the
Oh,
building.
it is, okay.
So you can enter from the front or from the rear entrance. There's actually 3 entrances to this sort of central common corridor for all the units. So this unit has the door off the hallway.
Yeah, but again, that's because I'm very into affordable housing units. This is, yes, it is within the 80%. It's the smallest unit, obviously, and which makes sense. But I have concerns about the lack of outdoor space if most of the other units do have it.
Okay.
I'm just putting that out there, you know.
Yes, thank you for your comment. We'll take that into consideration.
Yeah.
Christina, what is currently there right now in terms of housing?
There are 2 units above the retail space in this building here on the left side.
So there's 2 units, and the building is currently 2 floors.
Yes.
And we converting this into how many units?
9.
9 units and 3 floors.
Yes.
And how many of these? So it's 9 units, and then how many retail stores?
2.
And there's currently 2 in there right now?
I believe there's 3, including
There's
the nail salon. Yeah.
Please keep the deli.
And the nail salon, that's Troy.
Oh, I heard great things about the salon, actually.
Any other questions or comments?
I really appreciate the details that you are keeping in the existing architecture and how you're expanding that into what, into both properties next to each other, and that you're keeping existing buildings and not tearing it all down. I want to acknowledge that.
Thank you.
I have a couple of comments. I think the the current buildings, as we can see in this slide, are leave some things to be desired from a design perspective, and the new building is designed well. I have a little bit of a concern, and I think you are aware of this, particularly in drawing S3, which is your streetscape drawing, where you can really see just how out of scale this building is with some of the neighbors. There's a neighborhood full of sort of modestly scaled 1- and 2-family residential buildings. So I think you should, I think that'll be an issue that comes up both with planning and architecture review, and it would behoove you to start to look at that early on. I also think that this is sort of a minor detail, but balconies looking into a single family home's windows are maybe not the right idea. But I'm happy to see that that someone has bought this and is interested in fixing it, and I'm also very happy to see that it's you doing this project. So look forward to seeing more work.
Thank you.
Ask a question about process to Ed or Lori Lee. This is in our purview, or is it not in our purview in the end? Like, are we the final say on this district?
Yes, this is in the downtown transition. So that is the reason why it's being forwarded to you today to make comments before you refer it to planning and architectural review. So the final approval will definitely come back to you.
Got it. But maybe this time during the process, we can try and do a group meeting or something before it comes back to us, so that we hear more from the other boards and express ourselves with them to avoid any of the stuff that we've encountered in the past, maybe.
That's a good point.
All of your notes will go down to the planning board as well as request for a joint meeting.
I would like to just echo what Michael had said about this building and the style of this building in the streetscape. I mean, this fits into the DT zone in the downtown area. The DT zone along Ashford Avenue is sort of unique to itself in that there were more commercial spaces there, and as the commercial spaces went out, a lot of the new buildings, like a lot of the new townhouses, were put into totally residential that look like houses and single or two-family homes. So I do echo Mike's concern about this fitting into that particular DT zone. It's a little different from the downtown zone. So I would also encourage you to rethink it a bit.
Yeah,
I agree with the comments that Mike and Donna made.
Yeah, me too. The streetscape there is unique. So it may be a little bit of a challenge. You don't want to just plop that. It's a nice looking building, but you just don't want to plop it down there. So yeah, I agree with that. So if there's no other comments, we'll take a motion to refer this to the planning board. Yes, Mike. Making a motion? Yes. Second, Trustee Taylor. All in favor? Maura? Yes, okay. So it passes unanimously. It's referred to the planning board. And I do agree that we should have a joint meeting. So if we could work that out, that'd be a great idea.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah.
It would be great. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Christina.
Okay, let's move on to the next item, which is to consider setting a public hearing on January 12th, 2021 for site plan approval of 13 English Lane. Are we going to have some presentation on that as well?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm going to share the screen. Okay. Can everyone see the drawing here?
No.
Not yet.
No. Okay, we'll try this again.
While you're doing that, just so I'm clear, the planning board and the AHRB have already recommended your 13 English Lane, correct?
Yes, yes, we've been through the planning board review process, and we've had our engineering drawings reviewed by Han Engineering and approved. We've been to the architectural review board, received their approval. Now we've come back to you. We have a favorable recommendation, I believe, from the planning board for your review and approval. I believe that's the process. So today we're showing you our final preliminary drawings that have been reviewed by those boards. And I'll give you the overview since it's been a few months since you've seen this project. We're planning to put 3 townhouses on this street. And this first image here is just our color scheme that was reviewed and approved by the Architecture Review Board. The lowest level is a garage and also the entrances to the unit, each unit. And I'll show you the site plan. Next slide, please. I have Lizette Elias Garcia with me, who is the project designer, in case she can help me out here. This site plan is showing, can everyone see it first of all?
Yeah.
Okay, this is showing our 3 units Each unit is a little over 2,000 square feet. And they are 2-story townhouses with a garage on the lowest level. English Lane is a narrow street off of Ashford Avenue. This is in the downtown transitional zone. It's a dead-end street. And what we're showing here are 3 units. We have proposing a new sidewalk in the front, and these arrows are showing the entrances to the units. It actually, our original design met all the zoning regulations, but the county sent a letter to request that we set the building back to create a sidewalk in the front. And the planning board agreed to give us a waiver or recommend a waiver to the rear yard setback in order for us to push the building back. Next slide, please, Lizette. This is the area map on the right, and the site is in yellow here. And Ashford Avenue is perpendicular to English Lane, very narrow street. You come down here, and if you look at the photographs below, these are some of the buildings. This is the open lot. Right now, it's an empty lot, and around it are 2- and 3-story, mostly 1, 2, and I think 2.5-story buildings. With regard to zoning, we are meeting all the required setbacks except for the rear yard, as I explained. And we are at, I think, 49% building coverage, 52% development coverage. So we're under the maximum of 60% building coverage and 80% for impervious surfaces that is required by the zoning district. Next slide. These are just some of the images of the buildings in the area. There's a mix of mostly 2-story multifamily buildings in the area. And at the very end of the street is Ashford Avenue, where there are a few commercial buildings. This is just to show this is a survey showing the site, the empty lot at the end of the street. Next slide, please. This is our really just the same site plan I showed you earlier without the color to help everyone see the footprint better. On the ground floor, we're planning to have a garage. We have parking to meet the parking requirements for the DT zone with a handicap accessible space there. We have all our entrances off of that. We have a common entrance into the garage through the middle of the driveway entry. And then we also have the entrances to 2 units from the front of the building and 1 entrance to one of the buildings on the side. Next slide. And each unit is just under 2,100 square feet. They have nice open layouts on kitchen, dining, living room on the first floor, and on the second floor, they're 3-bedroom, 2 baths. These are our elevations, just without the color, showing how we set this up on the street elevation. The first one was north. This is our rear elevation. The grade of this property slopes upwards. So we have steps going up on the sides of the building to backyards for each unit, and there'll be privacy fences dividing them. Next slide. And this is just our side elevations showing the bay window on the upper level, and east elevation is, there are no entrances, but on the west elevation, we have an entry to one of the units. And we did our streetscape. This is a view of English Lane, showing the existing building on the left, which is at the corner of English Lane and Ashford Avenue, and our proposed townhouses on the right. And back to the color rendering. And these are the materials and the colors that were reviewed and approved by the Architectural Historical Review Board. So if you have any questions, happy to see if I can address them.
Just curious, are they going to be rentals or are they going to be condos? Just curious.
Andrew Cortese is, I'm not sure if he's on. I'm not sure if he's decided yet.
Okay.
I don't think I have a decision from him on that. I don't know.
He just raised his hand. Hold on.
Let him in.
Andrew, can you hear us?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, how are you doing? They're gonna be condos for sale.
Okay, thank you. Any other
Can you
questions?
tell us what's behind, if the building is going to be, there's going to be a waiver of the setback in the rear of the building? What's behind the building? Behind the backyard, I mean, on the next lot?
There's a property that comes off of Ashford that kind of runs all the way behind the property that we're building on.
But that's currently empty, or is there
Another backyard.
It's
another backyard? Okay.
Parking also.
Isn't the cemetery also there?
Yes.
Past the other person's backyard. Yeah.
Any other questions, comments? Okay, so is there a motion to set a public hearing for January 12th, 2020 for the site plan approval of 13 English Lane? Trustee Sullivan, second. Trustee Patino, all in favor? And that passes unanimously. So we'll set a date for January 12th. We'll see you guys then.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you
very
so much. Have a good evening.
Thank you.
Bye.
And Mr. Mayor, I'll work with the clerk to be sure we get that published. I know we're under some deadlines with the holidays for your local paper, but Liz and we'll team that up and get it done for you.
Okay. Next item on the agenda is courtesy of the floor. I would like to first acknowledge receipt of an email from Andrew Luce dated December 11th, 2020. Jen, is there anybody else who'd like to speak on courtesy of the floor?
Yes. Patty, can you hear us?
I can hear you if you can hear me.
Yes.
Just wanted to give a real great shout out to Kendra and everybody at the rec department, as well as the DPW, who just did a phenomenal job creating a winter wonderland down on Memorial. I'm sorry I wasn't able to make it down there. I heard it was a lot of fun. But I heard that Joe Rooney did a really fabulous job as the master of ceremony, with music playing and kids dancing and everybody having a very good time as they got their pictures taken with Santa. It was nice that he could stop by. And I just thought it was really great that in these difficult times, the village has done such a, an aggressive effort to make a wonderful event that was COVID safe, I'm hoping, because I'm going for my test tomorrow. And we'll see whether seeing 100 children affects one's health. Yeah, it was really great. And I just want to thank everybody for making it happen.
Thank you, Patty. Anybody else?
Yes, there's one more. Hold on. Molly, can you hear us?
Yes.
I'm sorry. Can you state your name and your address for the record?
Molly Rodriguez. I'm here on behalf of the Dobbs Ferry Food Pantry at South Presbyterian Church, 343 Broadway, Dobbs Ferry.
Welcome, Molly.
And I'm just here to thank the village, particularly Ed Manley and Rick Guevara, for working with us. We were struggling with feeding Westchester. They really didn't know where to park their delivery truck to deliver our 1,200-pound pallets of food. They wanted to park on Broadway between the crosswalk and Oak Street, but that really didn't work for the village. So Ed and Rick came up with the idea that maybe they could try Oak Street between the entrance and the exit to the church's parking lot. And Feeding Westchester was leery about it. They thought that Oak Street was too narrow. It really wouldn't work, but they tried it this past Monday and it worked beautifully. The truck fits right into that space. And it didn't take more than 10 or 15 minutes for them to act. Fortunately, the pallet is motorized because he does have to push that up the hill, but it went off without a hitch. And today, Feeding Westchester said, yes, we will agree to go ahead with that. So problem solved. And I just wanted to say thank you to everybody. I'm on here, I believe, with Vera Halpenny, the co-director, and also Robin Larkins. I don't know if they have anything to add, but.
I didn't see their hands raised. If they want to speak, they should raise their hands. No, they didn't raise their
Molly,
hands.
we appreciate everything that you do, and I'm glad that we were able to help in our small way. So thank you for everything, and please be sure to let us know if there's anything else we can do in the future. You do such an important job for everyone in the community, and who would have thought that we'd be in this terrible situation? But thank you. We really appreciate it, and you're certainly welcome.
Okay, we'll keep you posted.
Okay, fair enough.
There's no one else, Mayor.
Okay, let's move to matters requiring action. Action item number 1 is to review and consider a draft resolution approving the site plan application for 100 Main Street. So Laura Lee, I'm going to turn this over to you, and go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. You closed this public hearing on November 30th. The board has been sent a draft resolution for consideration. At this point, your deliberations and a consensus was reached, not unanimous, but a consensus was reached to proceed with approval with certain conditions. And I want to be sure with your discussion this evening that all conditions of the approval have been captured in this document, and also because it's in your discretion to grant the 4th floor. You can see the code provisions relevant to the 4th floor discretionary power have been footnoted directly into this decision. It's up to you to determine under the text of the code and also the notes to the appendices that the 4th floor, you can create a reasoned elaboration of the reasons for this fourth floor being a necessity. I believe also I've captured from my notes and from re-reviewing the videos for the various discussions, the findings that as you have presented them to me. If I'm missing anything, you can put it in. I also note that in addition to the waiver necessary for the percentage of the footprint of the 4th floor vis-a-vis the 3rd floor, you also need to waive the rear setback because the pre-existing non-conforming structure that exists there now does not meet the setback. So I've included a paragraph in your proposed resolution also that discusses the need to provide the rear yard setback. You recently, well, a couple of years ago, you revised the code that there needs to be a 10-foot setback to the OCA. In this case, this existing barn, which is being rehabilitated, does not meet that rear yard setback. So those are the 2 waivers, the percentage of footprint, the rear yard setback, and you want to make sure that your determination is sufficient in terms of the reasons for adding and permitting a 4th floor on this location.
Thank you. I know we've been discussing this for many months, years. I'm not sure if there's any more discussion that's needed, but certainly I'm happy to open it up to the floor. And if there's any discussion, everyone should have had the opportunity to review the resolution. I will read parts of it when the motion is made to put it to vote to it. There are a number of conditions that must be followed in order for this to go forward. So, if anybody has any other comments or questions before I put the motion forward? Now's the time.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that if this does get approved, make it very clear, this is an extremely extraordinary piece of property that has a lot of conditions to it and exceptions to it. This in no way sets a precedent for the board permitting a fourth story or any of the other setbacks. It's specific to this particular building and the issues that have been associated with it.
Yes, Trustee Cassell, you'll notice that in the determination, we've added those facts, the sloping nature of the property, the need, because it's on a corner lot, to actually to what you would normally do would be to use the front facade and to push back the fourth story from the front facade. But because this is a corner property, you also asked there to be a setback to help eliminate the massing that would occur from adding that fourth story. So there is a section in this determination where you mention the unique qualities of the property, and that courtyard itself is part of the open space along Elm Street that you had asked the applicant to consider.
I would also add to that, in terms of the uniqueness of the site, is the determination that it was important to keep the barn, which limits the footprint of the building and the use of the lot.
Any other comments?
I think the resolution did a good job of outlining all the reasons and rationales why the board was in favor of the project in the final submission. Thanks, Laura.
Okay.
So
there was some discussion, I think, from Mr. Manley, which pointed out there were some non-substantive errors in the zoning analysis, which is mandatory to be on your site plans. And today there was clarification that that Mr. Manley said when those site plans are submitted directly to the building department for the next round of approvals, those non-substantial changes, I think there was a mistake in the section block and lot or the tax ID. Those will all be corrected as part of the approval process.
Okay, so is there a motion to approve the site plan application for 100 Main Street?
Hold on, I just found a question I have. Is that okay?
Yes.
Just to be difficult. At the end, applicant must submit a construction timeline and sequencing for approval. And then applicant must submit full construction plans. Is there a timeline on that? Like, is this, how long, how, is there a timeline on when those would be due?
Those go to the building department, and usually the planning board or board of trustee approval of a site plan has to be acted upon and turned into a permit within 6 months. If that's not done, then the building inspector has the purview to extend after receiving extenuating circumstances.
Got it. Okay.
But this one's limited to just 2 extensions, Christie.
Say again?
This one's limited to 2 extensions only.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It has to get done within 18 months. The building permit has to issue in 18 months or he has to start over.
And then is
Yes.
there a timeline on completion?
Assuming, I'm sorry,
when the
assuming-
building permits open?
Building permits are initially issued for a 1-year period with, in our code, up to 3 6-month extensions.
And what happens if they don't? I'm thinking of 2 Ashford and how long that sat.
Right after they expire their time for extensions, they would have to come back to you for permission to continue.
And they get penalties from the time.
There are no penalties written into the code right now. That would be up to you. The penalties being the cost of the extensions, right now. The extension permits come at a cost.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Okay, so is there a motion? Trustee Patino, second trustee Sullivan. I just want to very briefly read part of the resolution. Be it further resolved that the project meets the goals and objectives of the village vision plan by generating an increase in tax revenue to the village and the school district by adding 2 residences on Main Street that will add to the vitality of the area, providing an upgraded residential building and rehabilitation of a dilapidated accessory structure adjacent to the OCA, and enhanced landscaping, which is an improvement over the current conditions at the premises, and a design having an attractive character, materials, colors, and facades, all consistent with the guidelines established for the area as recommended by the AHRB. And be it further resolved that the following shall be conditions on the approval granted herein. The applicant should comply with all applicable conditions of the planning board resolution number 14-2019 and the AHRB memo dated January 31st, 2020. An applicant shall submit a complete set of building construction plans to the building department for approval, and within approval shall expire 6 months from the date hereof unless a building permit is issued with the option for 2 extensions of 6 months each at the discretion of the building inspector, and the applicant shall pay a recreation fee of $24,000 prior to issuance of a building permit. Applicant shall pay a pilot fee of $10,000 representing the parking spaces to be located off-site prior to issuance of a building permit. An applicant shall pay all village consultant invoices in full prior to issuance of a building permit. Applicant shall maintain an escrow during construction in an initial minimum amount of $5,000 with an ongoing obligation to replenish the account at any point when the balance shall reach or fall below $1,500. At applicant's expense, the above referenced engineering plans shall be subject to final review and approval by the village's engineering consultant. At applicant's expense, the above referenced landscape plan shall be subject to review and final approval of the village landscape architect, who will determine in their sole discretion, compliance with Village Code Section 300.-49 to preserve transitions between uses. An applicant shall provide a 1-year survival bond for the landscaping in an amount established by the village's landscape architect with the approval of the building inspector. The applicant must submit a construction timeline and sequencing for approval by the village building inspector and provide for protection of the existing accessory building from impact of construction activity as recommended by the planning board. And the applicant must submit full construction plans to village building inspector with the address as 100 Main Street, including unit number designations and intended ownership plan. All in favor? 1, 2, 3, 4. That's trustee Taylor, trustee Sullivan, trustee Patino, trustee Casal in favor. All against? That's trustee Nell, trustee DeRozzi, and the mayor against. So that passes 4-3. Okay, let's move on to matters require action. Action item number 2, discussion of amendment to the Parklet program agreement. Ed, can you share some light on this?
So the parklets were set to expire on November 30th, and the board, after hearing requests from some of the business owners, decided that it might be a benefit to extend them. So what we did was initially was draft an agreement to be signed by the parklet owners, giving them the option to continue their parklet and taking responsibility for the barriers should they freeze, or to have dedicated parking for pickup and delivery purposes in front of their store. We thought that that model would work for some some of the restaurants better than the outside dining. And so because it happened in such a quick time, the original agreement was to expire. We did that, and you should be discussing it and approving it tonight or modifying it after your discussion.
Okay, thank you, Ed. I just so I'm clear, this agreement pertains to the businesses that already have the parklets, right?
Yes, it does.
Okay. Any comments by any of the trustees?
Okay. I think it's great to have some pickup and drop off spaces, but we're also going to be talking about loading zones, et cetera, in a few minutes. That's going to be a lot of spaces being taken away from the public. So one thing that I would think we should consider here is that the spaces that we are designating as pickup spaces in front of certain restaurants or wherever they are, that these spaces should be usable by businesses other than the business that the space is in front of. I think it would help with the restaurants at night to share some of those spaces. If one place is busy and another isn't, those spaces can be used. During the day, chances are a lot of those spaces are going to be empty because the restaurants, I don't believe, have quite as much pickup during the day, except possibly during that lunch hour period. And therefore, then the spaces could be used by businesses in the area who are open during the day. So I would look at not making those spaces necessarily exclusive to the business that they're in front of. But I do think that those businesses should still maintain the spaces with snow removal as they do with sidewalks, as they do with public sidewalks. Chances are anybody who's going to a restaurant to pick up will want to park in front of the restaurant that they're picking up from anyway. So I don't see I don't know, but I wouldn't foresee too many problems. But I think enforcing an exclusive pickup area would also be very difficult. If somebody's, parking a brick oven and, but they're picking up from someplace else, I think that would be like impossible to enforce. So I would encourage that we share those spaces.
I have a question. Are this is going out to all of the people who participated in the parklet program? Or just the ones who had them still up at the end?
It did go out to all the people who were participating in the parklet program.
Okay.
And just so we're clear, it's a two-step process. This initial mailing went out for them to designate their interest level and what aspect they were interested in. And then if they are in fact interested in continuing their parklet, there's an addendum that they'll have to execute, which clearly spells out the insurance and indemnity will be ongoing, especially because we're going into those colder months where the barriers may be damaged just from weather.
How many restaurants decided to stay with the parklets?
2.
Okay. And which ones are those?
What?
Cookery.
Sam's and the Cookery.
Sam's and the Cookery, right? Okay. And where are the proposed loading zones gonna be?
The loading zones are at the end of the south side of Cedar and mid-block on the north side of Cedar, and then at the
You mean the loading zones that'll be part of the next presentation?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, the corner.
But we have it on
sorry,
the.
Ed. Wait, sorry, Mark. Can you I'm sometimes directionally challenged, so I'm not sure when you say southerly side and northern side, what do you mean?
One is in front of the ice cream store, the frozen yogurt store.
Okay.
And then on the other side of Cedar, mid-block. And then on Main, on Sam's side, but up closer to Sushi Mike.
Right.
And then on the other side of Maine, down between Double Days and the deli.
Okay. Okay. I mean, so does it make more sense logistically to have pickup and drop off, curbside pickup, I guess is a good way to call it, right? In the loading zones in the evening, since most deliveries would be during the day, and then have the those be designated curbside pickup for the evening when the restaurants need it? Because it seems like they're in good locations for lots of different restaurants to benefit from them, like not just the ones that participated in the parkway. Go ahead, Chief.
In regards to I know I'm jumping ahead, but with the loading zone, the plan was that after 1800 hours, those spaces go back to parking. So it wouldn't, I wouldn't, unless we wanted to designate it differently as far as a pickup, then it would be free for anybody to use if they're going to utilize our restaurants or any of the other businesses in the area. So just in case there was a question about that.
Okay, so the loading zone's just till 6 p.m. Okay.
Correct. So they would fall in line with the parking permits. So at 1800 hours, the parking permits, the parking meters rather, are no longer in effect, and the same thing would occur. So it would roll right back into parking for anybody.
And also, Ed or the chief, whoever knows, I know we had designated a couple of extra spots this year as 15-minute spots, right? That weren't usually. Where are those located?
I believe if the ones on Cedar are actually a few spaces would be west, moving away from Broadway. So we were looking at area of 1 Cedar Street, meters 134 and 135. I know it doesn't mean much, but they were slightly offset. They are not lining up with what we temporarily put in place earlier in the year for those 15.
And there are any of those on Main Street or just Cedar?
We had both Main and Cedar.
Those were expired under resolution, correct, Chief?
Oh.
Yeah.
So we'd have to renew those if we wanted to utilize those too.
Correct.
But most of them were already 30-minute spots to begin with. So they already had a decent turnover. But I do wonder if the loading zones would be a good place to extend some sort of thing like pandemic related for pickup and drop off in the beginning at least, and then reinstitute evening parking.
To Christie's point, that it wouldn't seem to be too complicated to have these things be loading zones during the day, and then for a period of time in the evening to have them be stay as 15-minute, 10-minute parking, pickup parking, whatever we want to call it, and then at sometime after people would be picking up food to have them switch to be overnight spaces. How late do we think deliveries typically come into the village? Because I would think they would end by 5, but maybe I'm wrong about that.
According to the survey, it was 5 o'clock, they all said. But I just want to make sure, I mean, are we combining the two issues now? We combining the parklet issue with the loading zone issue, or is that going to have any effect on what we're faced with the agreement that we're dealing with right now?
If you're saying that only 2 restaurants want to even do this as pickups, or are you just saying they want to keep them as dining, and then all the other ones are still getting back to us on whether or not they want them to be pickups?
2 restaurants want to keep the outdoor dining. 1 restaurant wanted nothing. 1 is undecided, and the rest wanted the parking.
Got it. Okay.
How many is the rest? How many is the rest? Like how many restaurants
I
want
think
space?
it was 12 altogether, so 8.
Oh, okay.
I am concerned about 2 of the locations where these are. The first one is the one on Cedar Street. We have to remember that 41 Cedar is going to be a development that is going to be taking place in that street, and that corner where is right in front of Brick Convent. That's a very busy intersection. That's an intersection that has I mean, I see a lot of buses and a lot of things that passes through it. These two locations are a little bit too busy for my preference for them to be located here.
Wait,
Would
are you
this
talking
be
about
better?
loading zones or parklets?
Loading zones?
Okay, we're still on parklets, right?
Yeah.
Well, but there's a
Make sure-
circle in here. It's the same thing.
I just want to make sure that we're all clear on that. So one issue was the parklets and the pickup for food. And the next issue, the next item on the agenda is the loading zones. So I just want to make we're clear on that so that we're first now addressing just the parklets and whether we want to do the parklets or we want to keep parking spaces.
I think that with all of this together, we are just taking way too much parking at a Main Street and Cedar. It's like, honestly, where are people going to park?
Well, in theory, they could park at 99 Cedar Street, but
And
In
I
an
don't
ideal
think we're
world,
taking
yeah.
any more parking than we did all summer, right? Because the parking pickups, the ones we're talking about, they're each getting one spot instead of 3 or 4, right?
I think it was 2 spots.
2 spots.
It was maxed to 2 with no wider than your storefront. So
Got it. So it's less parking than we were
could change
taking.
it to 1.
Well, even if it was 2, it would be less parking that we were taking up all summer.
Correct.
And then we'd be taking 8 from the loading zone. So total, we're about the same as we were all summer, right?
Yeah, but all summer we were dealing with COVID-19 and we don't know. This is something, how long are we going to do this for?
Well,
But this is a pandemic solution, Maura. This isn't a permanent solution. This is for the pandemic. This is to help the restaurants get through the winter months when they can't have outdoor dining. They're anticipating indoor dining is going to be stay at 50%, get reduced to 25%, or get banned altogether. So I think it's just us trying to be proactive to help make their easier for them to do business. I mean, somebody can correct me if I'm wrong on that. My other concern is I think that we have to, we're going to allow the park, just for lack of a better description, the parklet restaurants have the option to have their own spots, and we're going to go that way. I think we have to ask like the other restaurants that didn't participate in the parklets if they also want that. And then do we have concerns that we should be offering that to all businesses? Like, do the hair salons want their own spot? I mean, do we get into this kind of like slippery slope? And I just want to make sure we're not going down that path, because then it would end up being with everything would just be an exclusive spot for one business or another through the whole village. It's kind of why I like the idea of the shared spots or in the loading zone or somewhere else. But I'm just throwing that out there for discussion.
I would say the reason that we are, the same reason that we did the parklets originally is because of limited capacity of indoor dining, which is what their businesses were depending on. So if they can't have dining indoors, then we were offering them outdoor dining options. And if they can't have dining indoors for the wintertime, we're offering them pickup options. So in terms of who it is that we're solving problems for, if that's the problem we were trying to solve, then this is the solution to help them with that problem. We're not trying to solve problems across the board. It's health related. It's related to the fact that people can't eat indoors and they are still limited, possibly more limited soon. So in terms of helping address that problem that's related to the restrictions on their businesses versus just pandemic issues, then I think it's solving or helping to solve that problem.
I think that's a good point, Christy.
Yeah, I think Christy makes
concern.
Yeah, I think Christy make an excellent point. So, I mean, I'm ready to move forward on this. I don't know how everybody else feels.
I'm
I
fine
just said-
with it. I do want to talk about, push the shared a bit, because the parklets, people sit there, they sit outside, they sit there for an hour or 2 or whatever while they're eating. These pickup places are going to be empty except for lunchtime and dinner time. They're going to be empty most of the time, most of the other times. And that's why I think we should allow them to be used by other businesses or other restaurants.
Yeah, well, I don't think that the police are going to give a ticket to someone. I mean, enforcement is a key issue, but if it's empty during the day and someone's going to be using it for 10 minutes to go across the street to pick up a burrito, then I don't think the police are going to give a ticket for that. I mean,
No, but I don't want the restaurants to think that they're exclusive spaces and then get upset if other people are using them.
You could certainly see a situation where, the restaurant could consider it their space and park either a personal vehicle or, a delivery vehicle and just leave it there all day. In which case, it would be, they'd be treating it as though they're personal spaces. I don't know from an enforcement standpoint, Chief, how you would think that ought to be handled. And actually, I have another question for you, Chief, which is, in the midst of all of the difficulties with the pandemic, there just seems to be anecdotally less traffic downtown, less difficulty parking because people are staying home. And so I'm not sure that we ought to gauge this against, what parking was like a year ago when people were spending more time in the village.
I would agree with you on the, as far as who's going into work, certainly the commuter lot, much less traffic. So I do agree that we're seeing, I would think anecdotally, less difficulties finding parking, although going back to the other points, that should commercials loading zones be created, my advice is that we're going to enforce it as such. It's going to be very difficult to get into a discussion. I'm just picking up or I'm just running in. It's if it's going to be a commercial zone, my advice would be it's enforced as a loading zone, just so that there's a uniformity, and to try to get a discussion, or if somebody's parked, we get phone calls, just like people will call us to say there's a vehicle parked in a handicap spot. They're expecting us to write it. So if
I think we're talking about loading zones. We're talking about the pickup spaces right now, aren't we? Or am I confused?
I think maybe I'm confused. I'm thinking this
I'm confused.
The parklets have nothing to do with me. We're
well,
talking.
the only reason the parklets may have something to do with you if it's exclusive for the parlor, and someone's going to call the police and say this spot's supposed to be for the parlor, and someone ran across the street to Tomatillo. Get the car out of there.
We couldn't enforce that. So that's impossible to figure out who's running away.
My feeling is this: we can terminate this at any time. So if in 3 weeks, 2 weeks, in a month, it's not working out, and we just revoke it and waive it. So I mean, I think you should just move forward with it.
With what? Which plan?
I just want to ask two questions. One is, I think we should, as a board, to consider whether we give the 1 or 2 spots to the restaurants that were interested. I guess 3 questions. 2, are we offering this to the other restaurants that didn't participate in the parklet program? And I forgot my last question.
I couldn't hear you. What's the second question? Are we offering?
I said the first question is like whether we should be giving 1 or 2 spots to each restaurant that wanted it. And then are we offering it to restaurants that didn't participate in the parklet program? And I'll come back to my third one when I think of it.
Well, the thing is, the people who paid for it, they paid for it to now.
My question.
Right. So to now offer it for other people for free doesn't seem right to me. So these are the restaurants.
They paid for the parklets, but they're not. So are they paying for these pickup spots now, or is this free?
It's free.
So is there an issue with, that was my question for Laura Lee, is there an issue with us giving parking spots away for free? And so if you paid for a parklet, you get the extra perk of having the free parking, and if you didn't, you don't?
Well, I mean, there's always implications about securing on-street parking for the benefit of a particular individual. However, that being said, these individuals had a license under their parklet agreement, and they were given the option to either keep their parklet under their license, or that would be extended to securing the parking space, a parking space for pickup and delivery under that license. So we're licensed, the license will continue. It'll either be for the parklet or for these spaces. But again, it will be difficult enforcement wise. Clearly a parklet stops people from using the space, but I'm not sure how or what the intention is to create this license area for use of the parking
Okay.
space for drop off and pickup. I
Well,
don't
that makes
know.
sense to me. Yeah, that makes sense. But then head in chief is how are we gonna do the designation? Because I was on Cedar Street this weekend, today's Tuesday, and somebody was pulled into the spot in front of Parlor, but they didn't really pull in, so I had to go around them over the double yellow. And I think they didn't, I don't know, but I think they didn't go in because of the orange barrier. So what's the plan going forward? Is it the orange barriers? Is it a sign, something else?
At first, we were trying out the barriers empty of water, but they're getting moved around and they're like, as you point out, blocking in the parking a little bit. So then we're going to do signage.
Okay.
So we just designate them through laminated placards on the meter poles for pickup only.
That was going to be my question, Ed. How people are going to know what is what. So we are potentially trying this for how long? Do we have a window of time for this?
Well, it was, both of the things were done for the winter.
Mm-hmm.
So you could, and the way we wrote it was you could remove it at any time. So as of now, if you do nothing, it would remain in effect till the end of the winter. And then you could review again to see if, the economic stability of the restaurants has improved, whether they need parklets again or anything like that. But if it's not working, you could come back, at the next meeting or any other meeting and remove the option.
And since it's a license, which by its nature is revocable at will, the parklet extension is under the understanding that the continuing viability of the program. If you find the program isn't working, the licenses can be freely revoked. They have to be able to be revoked because, again, it's public parking, which is held for the village for the benefit of the public. So by its nature, it's a license agreement, which is revocable. So if you find in February you've had an inordinate amount of snow and it's not working, then your meeting in February can simply suspend on notice in accordance with the license agreements, the whole program.
And so Ed, if it's a sign now instead of the other barriers, the village is going to be back to being responsible for snow removal of those spots. Can you hear me?
Once we remove those barriers, the two parklet owners will still be required to remove the snow on either side of their parklet, but the other ones, the village DPW will just be able to plow. And
okay, good.
We're going to get those off the street tomorrow.
Okay, thank you, everyone. That was very helpful for me.
Okay, so we have to vote on this, Laura Lee? Is it a motion?
Yes.
Can we be specific about what we're voting on?
Yes.
So isn't that in the licensing agreement that was?
Well, what you're voting on is the extension of the pilot program through under the rules and procedures already established. You're revising those rules and procedures to extend the parklet program with the caveat that you choose to keep your parklet or you get a drop-off spot, and it's the choice of the existing license holders. And that's through the winter. So Elisa reminded me that the winter's over in March. So we definitely put a date there, a date certain for the expiration.
Okay, so I mean, I have addendum number 1, memorandum of agreement. That's what I'm looking at. Is there another one? Okay.
No, the addendum is the extension. Yes.
Okay. Okay, so is there a motion to extend the licensing agreement pursuant to addendum or the memorandum of agreement for the parklet license and pilot program 2020? Trustee Nell, second. Trustee Patino, all in favor?
It's not clear because I don't have it in front of me. Was that 1 or 2 spots on?
So as the way it was written,
Thanks, Ed.
if you had 3 or 2 spots, you could get 2 spots. No more 3. But if you had
Okay.
1, you're still having 1.
Okay, and it's at their discretion. So like they could choose just to have 1 spot too.
Correct.
Yes.
I'll vote mayor.
Okay, all in favor? So that passes one. Wait, keep your hands up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Oh, okay. Trustee DeRozzi now. Okay, our passes unanimously. Thank you. Okay, action item number 3. Now we're going to talk about the loading zones. So, I don't
Yes, and
know.
just a reminder that you established the procedure, leaving it in your purview by local law 7, which you passed at the last meeting. So now it is time for a presentation by the chief on where the actual locations of the loading zones, and then you can pass that by resolution. And I've sent a draft over with the blanks for those locations, and you'll be passing a resolution in accordance with the local law that you've already adopted.
Okay, chief.
So I'm not sure if you remember the last board meeting's presentation, but again, discussing what we had walked with myself and Ed. We tentatively, we looked at 2 locations on Cedar Street. One was in front of 1 Cedar, Go Greenlee, parking meters 134 and 135. That would be the south side of Cedar. So as you're going towards Broadway, away from Main Street, that would be the south side is on your right side. Then in the area of 40 Cedar Street, parking meters 109. That was another location that we felt was kind of mid-block. So that would kind of support the businesses by spreading out those loading zones in the areas that, I think would help the businesses and get those big box trucks off of the main roadway of Cedar proper and into a space. We also tried.
Pardon me, Chief. Is it okay if I screen share so everybody can see the
yeah, if you're able to.
the map and everything?
Thank you.
Yeah, see?
So if you kind of look at Cedar, those 2 potential locations really cater to the bulk of the businesses, because as you proceed west away from Broadway, you're kind of moving away from the bulk of the businesses, and that enables both vehicle traffic going east and westbound to at least find a spot to unload or load whatever's required during the time frame designated. And then as we're looking again on Main Street, again, the thought pattern was, providing in different areas. So the one area that we identified was on the east side of Main Street, front of 138 Main, across from Brick Oven. That would affect parking meters 269 and 270. And as you went further south, we had also looked in the area of potentially 91 Main Street, across from Harper's, parking meter 214 and 215 as well. So that kind of gives you, without taking an overabundance of spaces, but it does kind of split the difference for Main and kind of opens up Main Street as well, so that the trucks can pull into those zones, load safely, and potentially not block traffic. We also tried to find areas where there was either a driveway in front or behind, or say like in the case of Main Street there, those last 2 spaces would make it easier for a box truck to pull in and back in versus trying to parallel park, say if we were taking a space at a different location. So south, as you're going east on Cedar, there's a bus stop in front, so that would be something that could pull into and out of easily. And yeah, we could, like I said, so this is we're just ideas. We could start and see if this works. If these locations don't work, we could always come back and revisit this and see if there's a better location. But this was just a thought pattern, because that was one of the concerns, was that during the daytime, the box truck deliveries create backups on both Cedar and Main, and it creates a double parking issue. So that's where this kind of springs from, as an idea to kind of assist. That's really all I have.
And then Elisa, can you speak? Before we move into questions and discussion and stuff, Elisa did a survey with the downtown businesses that the results are in here. I just wanted you to talk about that for a hot second so people understand what this is.
Sure. I mean, we distributed a survey. 13 businesses responded from a variety of 6 restaurants, 3 retail, 2 service, and 2 sort of athletic facilities. And for the most part, I mean, we included the responses on separate slides for each, but for the most part, the majority are in favor of loading zones. And we did include at the end, in the final slides, the specific comments that were submitted. Mm-hmm. And one is that really it just needs to be enforced.
Okay, thanks. Let's all go back to the map. Oh, you guys want to see this too? This is where they are, street view.
Thank you, Chrissy. That makes a lot of sense. And this is where my confusion was before, and where my point is that if we extended the pilot program with the spaces, plus we adding this as well, don't you guys feel that we are limiting a lot in the parking on the 2 main streets in the village? That has been my concern since I started to look at these things. The goal is to help the businesses, of course, but we're helping in one way and kind of like not helping on another one. On a situation that we already have problems, and I love the idea of having the loading zones because it is part of the problem, but I feel that we're taking way too much parking spaces from Cedar and Main.
So this one's 8 parking spots here.
Mm-hmm.
And then the parklet, I don't know how many 3 parking spot.
I thought that it said that it was only going to be 2.
No, I know. That's what I mean. So if we had 21 spots taken up all summer, I think that's what it ended up being. And we're not allowing them to have that many this time because the max is 2, where it used to be 3. So at least Sam's, Rarebit, Parlor, Brick Oven, at least, and Doubledays. So that's 5 spots taken back, if that makes sense. Like they can't have 3 spots each like they did all summer. Mm-hmm. So then we're actually talking about 3 additional spots, if that's the right math. I mean, I'm just saying, like, it's not as big of a difference as it might seem because we're not allowing them to take as many in the parklet.
Well, at the end of the day, it is a trial for us to try it out and see how it works out. It just seems to be a lot. I think that from the previous meeting, that's what I keep saying, that it's just a lot at the same time. And I'm scared about the confusion that it's going to create with people parking. And it's just a lot of stuff at the same time. So, visitors and residents, I'm just concerned that there's going to be a bit of a confusion. So whatever job we do with the signage and information to the community will be very, very necessary, because it seems confusing to us to have this paperwork right in front of us. So I can imagine how confusing it's going to be for people visiting or for residents.
Yeah, maybe it's something that we if we wanted to approve it, we approve it now, but then we don't install it until after the winter, because of the parklet program. And to avoid confusion of all of the different kinds of parking rules that we'd be instituting at the same time.
Yeah.
I think that, Christy, your point is a good one. It seemed 21 spaces sounded like a lot to me at the time. And since then, I go into the village regularly, and I eat in town. I have been, a lot during this time. And I've never had trouble parking. I mean, that is anecdotal information, but I think that when I speak to other people, it seems to be the case too. So I just don't think that we have the same burden that we've had. And so I agree that it sounds like a lot, but it also, I think it's going to help I think it's going to help with traffic, actually, even though we'll have less spaces, but we'll have a better traffic flow with the loading zone. So I'm in favor of this. I don't think it's going to negatively impact traffic or parking.
I have internet problems if I'm going in and out. I don't know if I'm trying to hear in one and seeing on another one, but let me remind you that I live in the downtown, so I'm constantly in both of these streets by foot and by driving. And yes, the parking and the traffic is much lighter because of COVID-19, but continues to be a challenge. It has not gone away because of COVID-19. And I got feedback directly from restaurant owners about this that they received. So that's where I'm basing my input on.
I think that, I know we've been talking about this in the past, and I think it's almost imperative that we start doing this now, is wayfaring for the parking lots that are available. We need signs indicating where 99 Cedar is, where the lot behind Village Hall is, so that people know that there are other places to park. Again, I've been downtown, not as much as you, Mara, but the times that I go down there during this pandemic period, I don't really see a parking problem. Rick would be able to speak to that probably better than anybody. And the only other question I have for Rick, the loading dock space that's in front of Go Greeley, is that by a bus stop? Because my concern there is if a truck does not pull in, and we know how some of these truck drivers are, that's a very busy corner.
There's no bus stop in there.
Okay. Then I just, and again, we'll see if it happens or not, but my concern at that particular spot is people not pulling in and being where there's a lot of traffic and a lot of turning traffic.
It really depends, Donna, on the time that you are in the downtown, that you see more flow than, like during the day, I don't see that much of a problem. And I'm speaking about the normal hour of like 9 o'clock when I'm leaving to work and I see the flow. Obviously, there's really, during the day, I don't see that much of a problem. It's mainly at night. But again, these spaces will be used for parking. So hopefully it will be completely okay. And yes, I am going to reiterate that the issue is that we need to find the signage to direct people to park at 99 Cedar because the lot sits empty. Over and over again, it sits empty. And if we want people to use this lot, we need to find the signage, the proper signage on the gateway and in a lot of the places where people have no clue that there is parking. And I don't understand why it has taken this long for us to get this directional parking signage, because we've been talking about this for over a year.
Yeah, I think the signage is very important because I agree that lot is empty and we have to be directing people to that lot. I was there today at 5 o'clock and there wasn't one car parked at 99 Cedar, not one. So I agree that we have to direct people there, although probably most of the residents know that it's there, they just don't want to use it. But I think let's move forward with the loading zones, see how it works. And again, if people continue to complain about parking downtown, the answer is there's a lot there that holds
yes, I agree.
many cars, so they have to walk a block or two. That's goal.
And Mr. Mayor, the new online parking payment system will also direct people through the app to all of the parking lots we have, including 99 Cedar.
That's cool.
Great.
That's very useful. And thank you to the chief and Ed for really putting this together. It's not that, it's a great idea. It's just that we want to make sure that we execute it in a way that it doesn't create other problems for us.
Right.
Okay, so let's move this along. Is there a motion to adopt a resolution approving the loading zones on Cedar and Main Street as outlined by the chief? Trustee Taylor, second DeRozzi, all in favor? That passes unanimously. Thank you, Chief. Thank you, Ed. Thank you, Laura Lee, for drawing up the resolution.
Thank you both. Three.
Okay, action item number 4 is to consider a motion to increase the hourly rate of Abby Cannett to $32 an hour effective on December 15th, 2020. Ed, can you speak to this?
Yes, there was a proposal or recommendation from the rec department, Kendra Garrison, to give our senior advocate, Abby Cannett, a raise. She hasn't had one in a while, and the board has looked at it and thought it appropriate.
Okay, I mean, she's been doing a great job. I can't, in these extremely difficult times, I can't imagine what it's like to keep the senior program going forward. So we appreciate everything that she's done as well as everyone in that department. So is there a motion? Trustee Cassell, second Trustee Sullivan, all in favor? That motion passes unanimously. Action item number 5 is to consider a motion to appoint Don Mara as Children's Village representative for a term of 1 year. I guess evidently I skipped this one last week, so we've added it on to this week's agenda. So is there a motion? Trustee Cassell, second Trustee DeRozzi, all in favor? And that passes unanimously. Consider action item number 6 to consider a motion to approve the audit of claims as submitted and recommended by the village treasurer. Jeff?
This is just a normal, audit of claims. No comments unless you have questions.
Any questions for Jeff? Okay, is there a motion? Trustee DeRozzi, second Trustee Taylor, all in favor? Okay, that passes unanimously. Action item number 7, right? Yeah. Consider a motion to authorize the police chief to sign an agreement with the county for the Stop DWI Patrol Data Master Project. Chief?
That's just an annual IMA that I asked for permission to sign off on. It enables us when we do our Stop DWI enforcement that we can bill Stop DWI program for up to $8,400 and reimbursable. So that's just kind of the main thing in regards to this IMA.
Okay, thanks. Is there a motion? Trustee Cassell, second Trustee Sullivan, all in favor? That passes unanimously. Thank you, Chief. Okay, the minutes from November 24th and 2020, from November 24th, 2020 and December 7th, 2020. Everybody's had an opportunity to review them. If they are okay, let's do it one at a time. Is there a motion to approve?
Mayor, I'm sorry, Liz has a change. She's raising her hand.
Oh, sorry, Liz.
That's okay, Mr. Mayor. Thank you. On the December 7th minutes, we just needed to, on the motion to appoint myself and Jennifer as the registrar and deputy registrar, the New York State Department of Health requires us to include the effective date of that appointment. So I would just like to amend the minutes to have that added, which would be effective January 1st of 2021 to December 31st of 2022, if that's okay with everyone.
Okay, so let's do that one first because before I forget. So is there a motion to adopt the minutes of December 7th, 2020 as amended, as outlined by the village clerk? Trustee Sullivan, second Trustee Taylor, all in favor? Those minutes pass unanimously. Is there a motion to adopt the minutes of November 24th, 2020? Trustee Sullivan, second trustee Nell, all in favor? That passes unanimously. Thank you, everybody. Let's go now to the reports. The traffic committee, which is probably Donna's last time, right?
Yeah. Christy's taking over, and I'm very happy for that. She's going to do a great job. At the last meeting, not that much happened, just doing some old business. And I guess the only thing really out there is the Price Street. I know the bless you. The traffic consultant that has been out there, and it looks like that will be going through with just a couple of changes. So that's going to happen.
Okay.
I think, right, Jen?
Well, we met
Jen's been on
with
top of it.
Bill Greeley out there today and
Yeah.
sort of measured off the preliminary design, and we decided that it was a little tight with the walking next to the parked cars on the west side of Price. So he's going to go back to the drawing board and restripe it so that all the parking is on the west side and the walking lane is all on the east side. And we thought that would be safer for the pedestrians and fits better with the width of the road. So when he comes back with that, you guys could take a look at it.
Thank you, Ed.
Okay.
ZBA?
Nothing to report.
Okay. The Tree Commission?
I haven't had a meeting yet.
Okay.
So nothing to report.
AHRB?
Nothing to report.
Okay, and Parks and Rec?
So Patty alluded to the great event that the rec department organized with Santa and pictures with Santa. And I hear that the community was really grateful just to be able to get outside and do something festive and fun. And if you haven't driven by the rec department down by Memorial Park, you really should at night, because they did a really great job on their lights. It's really very, very, very festive. And they've been working hard on the seniors program, and Sam's generously donated 60 meals to the seniors this week. So thank you, Sam.
All right, any announcements?
I just want, who was speaking? I'm sorry. I just want to remind everyone that the Youth Services Council Holiday Hustle is still running until the 20th. If you want to do the run virtually, please remember that this is for charity. So anything that you can do will be very much appreciated.
Okay. I just want to
Mayor?
that last, yes.
I'm sorry, Liz has an announcement.
Why am I not looking at Liz? I don't go. Go ahead, Liz. Sorry.
Gloves, come on. Sorry for that. I just wanted to just read a statement I wrote so I didn't forget what I wanted to say. So each year the village has a Toys for Tots collection bin at Village Hall. And the toys collected make a difference in the lives of the less fortunate children in our village and in surrounding communities. Due to the COVID-19 pandemic and financial crisis that so many are experiencing, I was very worried this year that it may be a difficult year for collections. Once again, the generosity of our wonderful village residents and of our surrounding communities and neighbors has gone above and beyond what I dreamed of, and has sent a message of hope for so many families during this holiday season. So on behalf of the Westchester County Detachment of the Marine Corps League, I wish to thank you all for your very generous donations and for your support of the 2020 Toys for Tots campaign, and to express my most sincere gratitude for all that you have done to bring so much joy to so many children. So thank you.
Thank you, Liz.
Thank you, Liz.
Sorry, I get choked up.
Every year you get choked up.
Great job, Liz.
Great job, Liz. We appreciate everything that you've done, and I'm sure the children and everyone appreciates all the efforts that you have done. So thank you again.
All right, thank you. I will mute myself now.
Mr. Mayor, can I just say something? I just want to share with everybody publicly. I'm a very transparent person, and last night I run into a post on social media that I was tagged on, and some of the members of the Dobbs Ferry Human Rights and Diversity Committee were also tagged on. It appears to be that there was an action done to one of our residents where someone went into their property, and I can consider it violated the rights by writing on a sign that they had of Black Lives Matters on their front lawn, and they put a sign on top that says All Life Matters. There's a lot of comments on social media about this, and I just want to encourage any member of our community that experience any type of harassment or any type of behavior such as this one to please come to our Human Rights Committee and make this public. I want everyone, and I think that I speak for this whole entire board, to feel comfortable and to feel welcome in Dobbs Ferry. And it is very disturbing to still see something like that happening in our community. And as the mayor created this diversity committee, it is something that this board and this administration will not tolerate. I am very disappointed, and I really would like for people who feel oppressed or feel attacked with these type of actions to please come to us and share with us what your concerns are, because we will support you. We are here to make sure that this type of behavior stops. And I don't think that it is right. And I think that it is something that with all of us working together, we will be able to stop. Thank you.
Thank you, Laura. I wasn't aware of it. I know that we've been in contact with the chair of the Human Rights Committee, and I expect to be talking with him tomorrow, and we can come up with some kind of action or a statement that we could respond to this. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
I also just want to thank Rabbi Benji and the Shabbat for inviting me to light one of the candles for the menorah candles, and it was a great honor and experience. They had a huge amount of people there. I want to thank Alyssa for taking the time out of her weekend to be there as well. We live streamed it, so we hopefully got the energy out there that we saw live. It was just a great experience. So I want to thank him for that. We also did a ribbon cutting. Again, I want to thank Alyssa for taking time off on her weekend to film that ribbon cutting, and Trustee Nell was there as well for the new eye optometrist on Main Street. So that was also a good experience. So
Eyes on Hudson.
Eyes on Hudson. Thank you for that.
Mm-hmm.
And so I want to thank everyone for taking the time to attend that. And if there's no other further business, I'd like to take a motion to close the meeting. Trustee Patino, second Trustee Taylor. I think this is we'll be having one more meeting before the end of the year. We are. No. So this is it. So happy holidays to everyone. And we'll see you in the new year.
I think we should
Happy
just also
holidays.
Happy holidays.
I acknowledge the commission, but I think the DPW did a really good job on our downtown. It looks really beautiful driving through it, walking through it. It really helps the situation right now, especially with the holidays passing and coming, that people can't be with their families. Thank you.
Good point.
Yes, Jen, great job.
I forgot to announce that we are doing a ribbon cutting for the embassy finally on Friday.
Mm-hmm.
So normally we'd have a lot of people, it would be a big ceremony, but because of COVID-19, we're drastically restricting it. We will, at a later date, have a much bigger event to honor it. But I want to thank Ed for all his efforts on moving this project along, as well as the rec department, Kendra. Jeff coming up with the money when we needed it, and all the trustees and the village staff for all the efforts they've done. And we're going to have a beautiful community center. So Friday, we will officially cut the ribbon. So thank you, everyone. Have a good holiday. And I just need to take a vote. I know I took a motion and a second. All in favor? Thank you. The meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everybody.
Happy holidays.
Happy holidays.
Happy holidays, guys.